I've been floating around this idea for a new video podcast interview series for my vlog channel, and the biggest thing I've been thinking about is the format. I really don't want it to look like a Zoom call. Nothing against Zoom, but there's something about side-by-side video footage that feels really unnatural to me. So yesterday, I tried a completely different setup, and I absolutely love how it came out. Here's a clip.
It all just starts coming, like the floodgates open and like all the opportunity happens. That's how I want to look at it versus searching so hard for those opportunities that they never come.
So in this video, I want to talk about how I set this up, mainly so that I remember and I can build off of it, but also to give you any ideas if you're thinking about doing an interview series for your channel too. Also, if you're new here, hi, my name is Heather, your YouTube coach. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. So I'm going to break this down in 10 points. First, no face on recordings. The webcam angle makes sense if you're having a meeting or if you're doing a live stream. It makes sense for a live stream because by looking at the camera directly, you're obviously looking at the viewer or the audience. And that makes sense for a live stream because the audience is part of a conversation. You can engage with the audience through the comments and the chat. But this doesn't work for pre-recorded because obviously it's not live. So there's no interaction beyond just the two people who are having the conversation. It doesn't make sense for the viewer to ever make eye contact with the people being interviewed. In a natural conversation, you're going to be making eye contact with the person that you're speaking with. And this is the whole reason why it just feels so unnatural. I wanted it to be a conversation that knowingly was going to be watched after the fact. And if that's the case, if that's the whole premise and the whole setup, then there's no face-on footage. Number 2, no Zoom recordings. I think Zoom is so heavily associated with meetings and virtual conferences, and there's just this formality in the atmosphere that's just automatically built. And for the vibe that I wanted to go for, I really wanted it to have a casual, comfortable atmosphere, because that's me. Like, that's the type of conversation I want to have with the people that I'm interviewing. I knew a second camera for both me and the interviewee is required. Number 3, these interviews are pre-recorded and edited. I think it makes sense for a true podcast or a live stream for the conversation to be 100% organic, uncut, raw, just presented exactly the way that it happens or that it happened. But for me, I didn't want to, like, if it was gonna be that, then I should do that. I should do a live stream or I should do a true like audio podcast. But I wanted to take the approach where I'm the curator of my channel and the content that I'm showing my audience. And I want them to be able to trust me that I can kind of edit down the footage to just the meat of the conversation and exactly what they need to take away, instead of listening to a conversation that's probably going to be 45 minutes, maybe even an hour of the whole conversation unedited. I think because I'm going into this with the notion that it is a pre-recorded conversation being watched after the fact anyway, I don't think it's weird for there to be edits. I think it's expected, actually. Number 4, setup on the interviewee's end. So I'm sad that this is inevitable, but obviously in order to achieve this look, it does require some setup on the part of the person that I'm interviewing. And as much as I want it to be as easy as possible for them, just click a link, join the conversation and let's just go, I know that this is going to be like a barrier to entry for some people. Like, there's just some people who aren't going to have the capacity to set up a camera and send me the file and all of that. I hate the fact that the ball is in their court where I have to wait for them to send me the file in order to, obviously edit the video. But I'm just hoping that that's not gonna be too much of an issue, and I really won't know until I get further along through this process and continuously test this with other people. Also, I do want to give a shout out to my friend Ben Tolson, who is the one who gave me the idea for this kind of format in the first place. So I will link to his video right here if you want to check that out. Number 5, positioning the cameras. To make it so that the viewing experience does feel more natural, the way that I am facing the camera and the interviewee is also facing the camera actually does matter. I didn't realize this when I set it up, but for this conversation, I was actually talking to my accountability partner, Carissa Ortega, and it just so happened that I set up my camera on the left side of me, and she set up her camera on the right, and that was not intentional on my part. I didn't realize that that's how it happened, but looking back, when you watch the footage, it looks like we're on opposite sides of the screen, which feels more natural. It would be totally bizarre if we were both looking at the left side of the screen, because it's like, obviously we should be talking in the direction of each other. I feel like that's gonna be another barrier, because like, not only am I telling someone to set up a camera, I'm telling them which side to set it up on. So I don't know. The other thing is the frames per second obviously have to match. So I actually recorded in a different frame rate from the frame rate that I was recording the audio on. So it was a super pain to have to cut and resync. That's just how I had to do it. Even specifying, hey, can you record in this frame rate, I feel like is another step of like complication. But I can get around that when I'm editing it after the fact. But if I can get ahead of it, that would be great. But it does require like some basic understanding of how to use a camera on the part of the person I'm interviewing. Number 6, recording the audio file. So to even have the conversation with Carissa in the first place, we used ecamm so that we can, obviously see each other while we're talking, and then also to record the file, and then that's the file that I pulled the audio from. You could also do this in Zoom, but either way, you're definitely gonna need a program where you can record the audio, and then you can put the video files on top of that and sync it. Let me actually show you how I did this. So basically I was working with 3 files. First was the ecamm file, and that was this video file along with the audio, because I was both recording my audio and Carissa's audio. Then there was my second camera, which was recording me, and then Carissa's camera, which she set up and she was recording herself. Once I have all those files, it's just a matter of syncing all of the audio with the main audio file, and then just basically hiding layers accordingly. So here's the main ecamm file. The second layer is me talking. So if I were to hide this file, it's me who's displaying. But then since Carissa's talking, that's why her camera angle is showing. And then you'll see here when I'm talking, her camera angle is hidden. And I basically just did that throughout the entire interview, while also cutting out anything that I didn't think was relevant to the main takeaways that I wanted to share with the audience. Number 7, incorporating J-cuts. I've never, in my 4 years of being on YouTube, intentionally used J-cuts before. I never knew how, but I definitely noticed them when I'm watching other YouTube videos. And I, just by accident, did some J-cuts in this interview, and I really like how they came out. So now I'm going to make it a point to incorporate them. If you don't know what a J-cut is an editing technique in which the audio from a following scene overlaps the picture from the preceding scene, so that the audio portion of the later scene starts playing before its picture as a lead into the visual cut. So here's an example.
And we're not afraid to put the free content out there and call ourselves coaches on the free content. But when it comes to trying to get people to pay for it, we're to, like, put that label on ourselves, So
yeah. Number 8, adding B-roll. So this was something I also thought about for a really long time. I thought that if the person I was talking to was like referring to something in their past or like previous projects that they had done, I can incorporate B-roll of like video clips or photos or something like that on top of that. But it just seems like so much work for me to even dig that and like match it back and all of that. But it also seemed too much for the viewer to just be looking at a single shot of the person talking for, a couple minutes just straight. So it was great to be able to just switch back to me to add some variety in the shot, where it almost was like my reaction to what Carissa was saying was the B-roll. And I always made sure to to cut back when, you know, obviously I was reacting in some visual way. So if I was just staring at the camera, obviously that's boring. But if I agreed with what she was saying, or if I, you know, obviously if I was like laughing or saying something, I actually just cut to me, and it made it, I don't know, I liked how it came out. Number 9, no music. I thought about adding music to just give it more, I don't know, dimension, to just add another layer, to make it more different somehow. But the way that I felt about it was like, when I'm having a conversation with someone pre-COVID times, like at Starbucks, the music at Starbucks was so frustrating because I could barely hear the person I was talking to. And so I just felt like it was that same thing. Like I didn't want there to be this like thing that I'm trying to tune out as I'm having a conversation with someone. So I decided no music. And number 10, casual bookends. So for this particular interview, I actually started the conversation with something that was like, you know, before I pressed record, even though I was recording the whole time, obviously Carissa knew that, but basically it was like me kicking my dog out of the room, who had accidentally snuck in somehow after I closed the door. That was a natural thing that happened, and I think that because I'm trying to make this feel as natural as possible, I liked how I included that. And then also at the end, when we were saying bye to each other and I was thanking her for being on the call, I actually showed a cut of the Zoom call. We were using ecamm, so the ecamm call where it was the side-by-side footage, and I actually included it because I wanted to show what it looked like on our end and what this whole interview could have looked like, because I could have just, you know, uploaded the ecamm footage along with the audio and then called it a day. But instead it was like I went this extra step to not only get footage from Carissa, record my own footage, sync it all up, do the cuts. Like I wanted to kind of show the contrast behind why there was a difference and why I liked it that way. And again, just adding to the atmosphere of being very human. It's like, yes, we are at the end of the day having this conversation over the internet, because that's just how it has to be. So overall, I really liked my first go at trying a different format. I'd like to build off of this. I think I want to try a few more interviews in this format, and I think I'll be able to better pinpoint what I really like about this, what I want to change, how I can improve, and stuff like that. But if you're watching this video and you're still here, I'd love to know what you think about this format and how you would change things up. And with that said, give this video a thumbs up, let me know what you think in the comments, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye!